Maybe. But now you can see out in the backyard, and I don't really like that. Let's go like this just a little bit. All right. Good morning. This is the Little Fish Stitches podcast. My name is Megan. I am your host for this podcast, and today is Tuesday, which is not my normal recording day, and it is August. Oh my goodness, it's August. Today is August 7th, I believe. Nope, today is August 8th. And it's about 10:45 in the morning, and I'm at home, and my younger son is at home, and yes, and I'm feeling a little off kilter with the fact that I am recording on a day that I normally wouldn't, but I'll explain more about that later. So I just wanted to say welcome. Thank you for coming to join me on my podcast today. I really appreciate all of you returning viewers, and for those of you who this may be your first time, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I just love being able to share my knitting journey and my sewing and bits and pieces of my life with you. This is what this podcast is all about. So thank you for being here. And if you see me looking down and to the left, my left, your right probably, it's because I'm looking at my show notes, which are over there. Have them propped up in a chair next to me. So, yes, okay. You can find me on most social media as Little Fish Stitches. I will put a little list right here next to me. And then something I want to get to as far as administrative stuff. Well, I don't normally have administrative stuff, but I'm starting up some things that are going to require that. So, first of all, I want to let you know that I'm going to be doing a giveaway. And this giveaway is going to be for 100 subscribers to my YouTube channel. But in order to qualify for that giveaway, you have to come over to my Ravelry group, and I will have, when I hit the point of 100 subscribers, I will open up a thread for some sort of prompt question that will then put you in the running for the prize for that giveaway. So, and most likely the prize for that giveaway will be a project bag and skein of yarn, both created by me. So, yes, there's that. And then the next administrative thing is I have been thinking about this for a couple weeks now, and I have decided finally that I want to do a knit-along. I have not very often participated in knit-alongs, but I think it would be fun to have one of my own. So I have already, on top of things today apparently, I have already set up a chatter thread for this particular knit-along. And so let me look at my notes here. What I'm going to call it is the Campsite Along Knit-Along. I know that sounds, it's more like Campsite Along KAL. So, and the reason I'm calling it the Campsite Along is because there are 3 patterns by Alicia Plummer, who is the designer. I'm being a little redundant there with my words. She has designed 3 different patterns, both, and all of which have the campsite title. So one is the shawl, one is the cardigan, and one is the pullover. So you can make any of those 3 items to be qualified for the knit-along. And since I have already started my campsite item, I'm going, I think my dog was just making a bunch of noise or something. I'm going to allow whips, just as long as they are less than 50% done. And the rest of the rules are posted in the first post of the chatter thread. So if you are interested, you can go read there. They're pretty simple, basic rules, not anything that is too outlandish, I think. So, yeah, so campsite along KAL. So I'm going to put a little hashtag up on the screen for you. That is what I'm going to be using on Instagram, and probably that's about the only place because that's my favorite social media place to be. So yes, feel free to use that same hashtag in your knit along should you choose to join and make one of these items with me. So the 3 items are the campsite shawl, which is a free pattern. So if you want to do something that doesn't require you to pay for a pattern, that would be the one. And then the campsite cardigan, which is $6.50 on Ravelry, or the campsite pullover, which was just released a couple weeks ago, and I was able to buy it on its release weekend for $5, but it is now also $6.50. So those items are the ones that are what you need to knit in order to qualify for the knit along. And I have decided that it's a DK weight yarn that you would be using, and the needle size is on the larger size for what I typically knit with. So what you will, I'm figuring, and just given the amount of progress I have made in the 2 days since I cast on my item, I'm going to say we're going to complete this knit along at the end of September. Now it's early August, you have like a month and 3/4 to get your item knit. If for some reason it feels like that's not enough time, let me know, and I will definitely see what I can do to work with you to maybe extend the deadline a week or so. I don't want to go too much past the beginning of October because I need to be starting on some other projects at that point. So, yes. Okay. So, I don't have any prizes yet for this knit along, but there will be probably 1 prize per pattern. So if you knit the shawl, there will be a prize. And if you knit the cardigan, there will be a prize. And if you knit the pullover, there will be a prize. That might be subject to change though, just to be honest, depending on how many participants I get. So, you know. Okay, so I think that's enough administrative stuff. So, in case you haven't noticed, I have a finished object. Yeah. It only took, let's see here, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 6 months. It took me 6 months nearly to finish my lovely, beautiful Ernest cardigan, my Ernest cardigan, I'm speaking of it as if it's a person. My Ernest cardigan the pattern was designed by Joji Locatelli, who, if you haven't heard of her, where have you been? She's an amazing designer. So, yes, this is my Ernest cardigan, and I will stand up now. I'm going to scooch back just a little bit. Da-da-da. Now, I can't really show you very well. I'm going to stand up on tiptoe. This blocked out really long. I was really quite surprised at how long it blocked out. To me, it's on mid-thigh. So, and the sleeves, I did not anticipate this. But, hang on, coffee back here. I will put it in the windowsill over next to me. This is my pretty purple mug. that my lovely son chipped for me. But yes, back to the cardigan and off the topic of coffee and mugs. So things turned out a little bit longer than I anticipated. I'm okay with that because 2 reasons. I'm okay with things being a little long because that's just life as a short person. And I like being able to pull sleeves over my hands when I get chilly anyway. So that is fine. And then the length of this cardigan, now that it's been blocked, is perfect for wearing with leggings, which I wear quite often. And I have lots of leggings that will coordinate well with this particular sweater. So I am very happy with my results on this as far as blocking goes. And the only thing I would have to say about this pattern that might deter somebody is you have to not be afraid of purling, or you have to be okay with purling a lot, because majority of the body is double seed stitch. So yeah. And not to give away any pattern secrets, but I mean, if you look at the sweater and you're a knitter, you know. Yeah. So, and the other thing about the fit of this sweater, which is definitely on me and not on the design, it's when I started this sweater, I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. So it's going to fit a little differently than I had anticipated back then. I wasn't sure. I had started the eating plan that I'm on back in January, and I probably lost a couple of those 30 pounds by the time I actually started this sweater. But it was still, I mean, my body has changed quite a bit. From January, I'm down 3 pants sizes. So, yeah. And 1 to 2 shirt sizes. So yeah, things have changed with my body. And that's not a problem. And despite the fact that my younger sister, my niece, my cousin, and probably a couple other people have all tried to claim this sweater since I have been shrinking, even though few of those people are smaller than I am. Yeah, they aren't getting this sweater ever. It's living with me for the rest of my life. When I die, they can have it. So that's my finished object that I am very, very happy with. And I am very happy that I can record today and wear my sweater, because last week the weather, oh my goodness, it was hot. And I was so very thankful that last year, a little over a year ago now, we put a new heat pump in our house, and heat pumps do air conditioning, if you weren't aware of that fact. So our house has AC, which is not common in our area of the Pacific Northwest. Which reminds me, I am not on the ball on introducing myself. I don't think I introduced myself at all. My name is Megan. I am your host for this program. And I live in Aberdeen, Washington, Washington State. I have my husband of 17 years. His name is Brian. And my teenage son, James, who we call Jamie. And my 8-year-old son, Connor, who is sitting on the couch over there while I record my podcast. And he's grinning right now. So it's just the two of us at home right now because of things I will explain later. All right, so finished objects. Okay, I have one more finished object. Now, this is a very teeny tiny sewing related finished object. And I'm not terribly pleased with how it came out. But this is literally my prototype design that I whipped up this morning, post-work, pre-podcast. So, this is it. Now, it doesn't look like much. It's pretty flat, but I found this clear stuff that I thought would make a great little notions pouch. So, I did not plan this very well at all. I cut a 6 by 4 inch rectangle, 2 rectangles of fabric. I put some heavy duty Wonder Under in between the layers of the back part of the fabric, and so that there's basically I stuck the right side or the wrong sides together of the fabric that is the back, and it's nice and stiff. And then there's this plastic which I purchased by the yard at Walmart of all places. And then I cut some bias binding and ran it through my sewing machine. And I did a zipper using the bias binding to put the zipper onto the plastic. So I'm okay with how this turned out, but the binding part really didn't turn out very nice. And so I also think this needs to be a little bit bigger before I will start selling these in my Etsy shop. But I'm thinking, because literally this took me, from cutting material to finished object, about 15 minutes. So not bad really as far as sewing time goes. So this wonky little thing is going to be mine, and I will work to perfect more. But the reason I chose to do this is because I always have a hard time seeing where things are for some reason. It's like I'm blind or something. I don't know. So if I have a little clear pouch, I can see what's in that little pouch and, not lose my darning needle or little pair of scissors or stitch markers or whatever. And now my zipper doesn't want to close. And this zipper is part of a bunch that I bought at a garage sale a couple of weeks ago for like $1 for like this big handful of zippers. I was like, cool. So it's not I think this one was out of, this particular zipper was no longer in its package. But a lot of the zippers that I got have like 50 cents on them for their price. I'm like, these are old zippers. Zippers don't cost 50 cents anymore unless you're buying them in massive bulk. So, those are my finished objects. Moving on to whips. I have my first whip, which you have seen before, is living in my Mrs. Brown's bag that I love, and it goes most places with me because this is my easy to carry around project. And this is my, if I can figure out what I'm doing here, this is my sock head hat. And I have gotten, I don't have a progress keeper on here, but I was about, I would say this far, right about there, about three inches or so, on this when I showed it last week. So I went camping this past week, which I'll talk a little bit more about in life stuff. And this came with me, and I have worked up to the 4 inches, and then I've started on the stockinette section, like half an inch in. So yeah, that's coming along. So I am using size 2 CHOW interchangeable needles on this, and my yarn is Toxic Oreo by the Lemonade Shop. And I really like how this is working out. This is going to be a fun, lightweight hat to wear. We don't need super heavy winter gear here in Washington State, at least not on the West Coast. You go over to where my sister lives in Walla Walla, you'd probably want it. And then my only other whip that saw any work this week is actually a new cast on. And I bet you know which cast on it is. This is my campsite pullover. And this is living in what my Ernest cardigan was living in up until a few days ago. This is my Like a Boss bag by the Crafty Little Fox. I don't know if you can see the label there. Her cute little fox picture on the other side of it. I love her little label. It's adorable. So this is very well made bag. I recommend you go buy one for yourself. So this is my all marked up pattern. You can't see very much because I'm waving it around. This is a pay for pattern. So this is where I'm at with my campsite pullover. Now you're gonna laugh at me. I'm gonna go like this. I have a little shawlette cape thing. I don't know. This is 2 days of knitting on this sweater. I cast this on Sunday evening after setting my Ernest cardigan up for blocking. So I've got, I don't have too much further before I have to separate for the sleeves. This is a raglan top down, obviously, style sweater. And right now I'm working with 2 strands of yarn because this is indie dyed yarn by me. I will show you a little, if I can get this off my head without making a mess. This is dyed by me, and this is what I'm calling my Shark Week colorway. This yarn weight is DK, and the yarn blend that I have is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So I just love how it takes the color. I love how this just so very much reminds me of Shark Week. So that's why I had to call it that. So I'm making some pretty good progress on that. I barely managed to make myself put it down last night and go to bed to get some decent sleep for today. And I am knitting this using my CHOW interchangeables that I love, my CHOW interchangeables. And these are a size 8, which is a 5mm. So, and I love that CHOW lists both sizes on their needles in case people want to know. So that is my campsite pullover. So that's all the whips I have. I have other whips, but none of them saw any work done on them this week, which it will become evident why when I get to life stuff. Like this poor little guy right here that my son so wants me to finish. I have not touched this week. Oh, coffee. All right, so what do we got next? Pod stocking. Oh wait, you know what, guys? I forgot to show you. In my lovely knitting journal, I have finished my page for my Ernest cardigan. And you can't see my writing very well because it's in very, very pale ink. But I have my finish date, August 5th, 2017. Woohoo! So, that's that. I need to start another page. I haven't done it yet for my, I need to start 2 pages. I need to start one for both whips that I just showed you. Slacking, I tell ya. So, okay, back to pod stalking. I have not watched any new to me podcasts this week. Partly because I kind of just wanted to catch up on some that I haven't been watching, that I really enjoy. So those ones were Inside Number 23. I'm finally well into 2017 with her, thankfully, but I like to watch from the beginning forward. So I'm trying to get caught up on those podcasts that are my absolute favorites, and Inside Number 23 is one of those. And if you watch any podcasts at all, I'm sure you've heard of this one because everybody loves Katie. So, she's a knitter and sewer, and she does various other little crafts as well. She does a lot of handmade wardrobe stuff, which I really enjoy that part of her podcast. And she's just got a good sense of humor. She brings her husband on sometimes, and they do goofy things like movie reviews and whatnot. And then the other one, which I watched a lot of yesterday while I was working at my Monday job, was Stitching the High Notes with Joanna, who's Opera Jo on everywhere that she's on social media. She's a opera singer, chorus singer with San Francisco area, like symphony and whatnot. And she does a variety of crafts as well. I think that's why these two appeal to me. They don't just knit. It's not just knitting on their podcast. They sew. Joanna's been getting into quilting. And from where I am at in her podcast. So I'm not into 2017 with her podcast quite. Wait, I think I am actually, as of yesterday. So those two are some that I have really enjoyed, and I like to keep up on those. So I was just trying this past week to catch up on those. And this morning while I was working, I was also watching Pin, Feathers, and Pearls with Candace and her little green birdie Yoshi. So I'm not too far into her podcast yet, but I've watched it before. So yeah, that's it for pod stalking. So if you haven't watched any of those 3 podcasts, I would highly recommend them. They are good podcasts, well put together, great content. So, and if you enjoy sewing, 2 out of those 3, they do the sewing. They do the sewing. Yeah. They're sewists. I'm a dork, but also a sewist. And more coffee. And you guys, you know what? Most of the time, I drink coffee because I like how it tastes. And I'm not exactly a coffee snob, but kind of a little bit. And my younger sister used to work at Starbucks and got me addicted. And I don't usually need... I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee. Somebody stop me now. Okay. If you missed the episode where I had my husband on at the end, and I asked him what my favorite food was, and he said coffee, he was totally right. It was funny. He gets me. So, all right. I totally skipped acquisitions. I guess we're going to do them now. So, first acquisition. is a tool, not yarn. I bought a set of crochet hooks because when I was doing my Soul Sister tank a few weeks ago, I did not have the right size crochet hook, which I think led to my wobbly crochet edging on that. So I decided to, I just went on Amazon and got these. I think they were like $10 or $15, not very expensive for the entire set. And now I have all these sizes. I am not claiming to be a crocheter. I can crochet. That's what I started out with in the fiber arts. But it's not where my true love lies, which is knitting. So I have a new set of crochet hooks, which I have not yet used, but I will be soon because I have been commissioned to make another Soul Sister tank. And so I've got that in progress, but that was one of my whips that did not get touched. And then, oh, behind me, hang on a second. Excuse me, you can look at the back of my cardigan while I pull these off the shelf. Oof, what is it stuck on? Okay. I have a big pile of red yarn. This is my sweaters quantity for my husband's sweater. So I'm going to be making him, I didn't write down what pattern I'm going to be making him. It's the Donegal sweater. I can't remember the name of the pattern designer right now. But if you look up Donegal sweater, it's a shawl collar, cable-y sweater. I'll pop a picture in now that I know how to do that after last time. So I've got all this yarn, and the sunlight is kind of, or the light from the window is kind of blowing it out a little bit. That's a fairly good representation of the yarn right there. I've got this one caked up so that I can do a swatch for the sweater. So into the chair it goes. So I didn't tell you what it was though. It's a big pile of red yarn. It is Malabrigo Rios, which is a worsted weight. Oh, and this one just decided to come undone. I don't know if that is the proper pronunciation for this, but I will just put this right up here for you. So now to keep this from unwinding, go back in the loop there, mister. All right, that's wonky but good enough. All right, so that's acquisition number 2. Acquisition number 3. Now there's a little bit of a story behind this, and it's still in its package because she put all sorts of fun stuff in here. So a few weeks ago, I mentioned to you guys that I had done a virtual knit night. And the person who started up this virtual knit night, which has only been going a few weeks, and I had to miss last week, which I'll explain about in live stuff. I have so enjoyed the ones that I've been able to attend so far, which I think is 2 or 3. I have so enjoyed those. Since I don't really have much of a knitting community around me here in Aberdeen, doing virtual knit night has been so fun. But anyway, she also has her own website, and it's I'll put it up here on the screen for you, the Perfect Stitch Fiber Company. And her name is Jen. So I've gotten to know her a little bit through this virtual knit night. And so I decided to go check out her website because, you know, I was getting to know her. And as I'm browsing through what she has available, I see this Aurora Borealis colorway, which is lots of grays and blues and purples, and it's just so pretty and fluffy. And this is her chunky base, which is 109 yards, 100 grams. It's 96% merino wool and 4% nylon. is pretty soft, and it's really pretty colors, and I'm excited. I'm going to be making a hat. See, this is her little label, Perfect Stitch Fiber Company, and yarn info right there. So this is going to be, oh, there's some green in here too. So this is going to become a hat. I haven't figured out what pattern yet. I may just design my own. I don't know yet. So, pretty yarn. And then I made a purchase from her yesterday too, which will be shown on a later episode because obviously I don't have it yet. But yes, I am looking forward to making a nice warm hat for those days that I will need a nice chunky fluffy kind of hat. But along with all that yarn, there was a sweet little note. This is, you know, a little thank you note. And then this is her little business card that she included. This is going to go up on my little wall where I have all my fun yarny business cards. Oh, this one might need to stay in my little pouch that I made, because look what she's got on the back here, the Kitchener stitch. Now you guys know I was complaining last week about how terrible I am at the Kitchener stitch. Jen, this is a very good idea. Yeah, this is going in my knitting supplies. I didn't notice that before, obviously. Then there were a couple little packets of tea. So a lemon ginger and vanilla chai, yummy. And then there's a packet of goodies. I'll take this out of the package now that I am, sorry, crinkle. She sent a little measuring tape. So this will be good to have in my supplies, retractable measuring tape. Because it seems like no matter what I do, I'm always misplacing one. So if I keep this and the Kitchener stitch thing in my little pouch that I made, maybe I'll be more organized. I used to be the most organized person ever, and then I had kids and, you know, things happened. And then this last thing is my absolute favorite little extra that she put in. And this is going to be getting pinned to my that crafty little fox like a boss bag. I don't know if you can see it very well. It is very shiny. It's a little sheep, and it's purple background. It says, "I will survive." I love it. So it's going to go live on my sorry guys, dropping yarn. It's going to go live on my crafty little fox bag. And I'm going to put it on right now so I don't lose it, because knowing me, I would lose it. Right here. Ta-da! Right there where I pull it open. So I can see it all the time. Okay. Couple more acquisitions. Now, these came from, I'm going to show you the bag, Homespun Quilts in Astoria, Oregon. So, it was a quilt store for the most part, but they did have yarn. So, 2 purple, 1 navy. This is like a fingering weight yarn, but the blend is, to me, interesting. This is Barocco Fiora, and yes, there's the price tag on there, so now you know how much I paid for it. I've never knit with any Barocco yarn before. There's 100 grams, 246 yards. This is 40% cotton, 30% viscose, 15% alpaca, 10% nylon, and 5% wool. That's quite the breakdown. And the dye lot for the navy is, or not dye lot, color number, because as far as I can see, there is no color name on these. The color number is 3871. And it's just a nice mid-tone navy. There's a good representation of it. And then this is pretty close to the color of my hair. And this is the exact same thing in the color, and I got the last two of this color, and the color number is 3860. Again, at this angle right here. So yeah, pretty nearly the color of my hair. But I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with these yet, but I really liked making the Soul Sister tank, but these are fingering weight versus worsted weight, which is what the Soul Sister calls for. And so I might be designing something for that, because I want it to be a tank top since it's mostly cotton. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, it's not going to be something I'm going to be using this summer because A, design time, I'm a slow designer, and B, it's August. I'll never get done in time for summer usage. So, especially with all the other stuff I have on the needles. Okay, so there was one more thing I got at this shop. I'm going to show you the box that it's in. Stuff You Love. So, if you want one, I think you'll find it at stuffyoulove.com. And I have not unpackaged this at all. So, there. It's a knit happy mug. And it's got a sweater and needles and a hat and a sock and more needles and a mitten and a sheep. It's so cute. And I like the bright blue inside. So, it's like a little chalkboard style mug with bright blue. So, if it's a mug, I like it usually. Very rarely do I not like mugs, because they hold my favorite drink. Oops, there's a window there. So, that is, sorry, all this packaging now is down by my feet. That is it for acquisitions. Last segment, life stuff. So I've been kind of hinting at this one since the beginning of the episode, basically. I went crazy with work last week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was working like a madwoman. I put in way more hours than I normally do in just 3 days, I think. Because I took Monday off from my normal Monday job because I had too much work to do for my other job. I put in like, I'm going to say, in that 3-day period, like close to 25 hours in 3 days. And now, there are some pay periods when 25 hours is what I get in 2 weeks. Not this one. It was busy. So, I was busy the first 3 days of this past week. And then Wednesday, I went out to Ocean Shores, where my employer lives, which is the place we normally go on Thursdays for work. And we did our work out there, and then I came home. We went out early. See, this is the nice thing about working for a very small company and being good friends with your employer. We showed up at her house before she was out of bed. Of course, it was 8:45 in the morning, and so she was sleeping in, and at least as far as I consider that, because I'm a very early riser whether I like it or not, so might be why I like coffee so much. Yeah, so we left her house around 11:30, got home shortly after lunchtime. I grabbed lunch in town because life is crazy and it was just easier that day. And yeah, it was a burger and fries because yeah, I still eat that kind of stuff despite the fact that I'm on a special food plan. I don't always, but sometimes. It's necessary sometimes. So, the reason we got there so early to her house that day was because, and by we, I'm talking about my sister and I who work for the same lady. So, sorry, HEI. So, yes, we got back and started packing up for our annual family camping trip. This year, and if you are on Instagram, you have probably already seen the pictures I posted. But this year we went to Fort Stevens in Warrenton area of Oregon, which is really near Astoria, Oregon, which is why I have those acquisitions from this place. So, oh, by the way, fun story about the lady who helped me and my mom while we were in this shop. So I watch the Hugh Loco podcast. Nicole of Hugh Loco is the host there. And she's in Boulder, Colorado, which I'm assuming is somewhere close to Denver. But I think, and from what I've been watching of her podcast, I haven't watched a whole lot of it, but I did a little bit week before last or something. Her shop, she sells her yarn in this shop in Denver, which is called the Fancy Tiger. So I remembered that name from the podcast. And then the lady that was in this quilt shop helping us had a Australian accent, which is not something we get a lot of around here. But she was like, yeah, in my former place of employment in Denver, the Fancy Tiger. I'm like, what? So this lady used to work at a shop that sells Hugh Loco yarn. I don't know. I'm a yarn geek, yarn nerd, yarn dork, yarnaholic. Anyway, I thought that was fun. And then my mom, she's not quite as into all the podcasters and stuff that I am. So it totally went over her head, and I had to explain to her later after we were out of the shop. But excuse me. Yeah. So we were camping at Fort Stevens for 3 nights in a row, and there's very little cell signal out at the campground. So I was offline, basically. I mean, I could see that I had notifications on Facebook and stuff, but I couldn't see what they were. Or like, you know, my phone will say, your brother tagged you in a picture. And I'm like, great, I'll look at it in a couple days. So we had a lot of fun. We went out to, besides the little yarny trip that my mother and I made, we went to the beach a couple different times. And we went, my son Connor and I, we took a bike ride from literally the trail started right behind my campsite at Fort Stevens. This paved bike trail went from the campground to the battery, which if you aren't very familiar with Fort Stevens, it was built in the late 1800s, and it stopped being used shortly after World War II, I think. So they've got these old batteries, which are where they, you know, stored ammunitions and guns, and they're kind of built into the hillside, and he had a lot of fun climbing up all over those and exploring those. And then we went later with the whole family, but the bike ride we went on was like 4 miles round trip, which is a lot for an 8-year-old and a 37-year-old who hasn't been on her bike in a while. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Me and my boys. My husband never camps because he's a anti-outdoorsman, also known as a gamer geek, computer geek, likes to be inside geek. I don't know, but I grew up camping and I love it, so we go. So there was me and the boys, and then my parents and my sister and her son, and for most of the time, and then her husband came down after. He came down on Saturday, so we left Thursday morning, spent 2 nights there, and then Saturday came down, and her husband came down on Saturday and joined us for 1 night, and then we went home on Sunday. But then there was also my older sister and her husband and her youngest son. Her oldest son is the one who is married, and his wife is about to have a baby, which is going to make me a great auntie. And then her daughter, she's 20-something-ish, 22, 23. Caitlin, how old are you? Anyway, I think she's 23. She's an adult. She has a job. She has things to do. She couldn't go camping with us. And then my brother and his wife and their 3 kids. And then one of my father's 2 sisters, my Aunt Jan, and her 2 teenage kiddos. My aunt is a widow, so her husband obviously not there. So she and her 2 kids. So we were quite the big group. And we all got campsites right next to each other, except for Aunt Jan. We need to plan that better next year, Aunt Jan. Not that you actually watch my podcast, I don't know. But anyway, every year we have this big group, and it's mostly my parents and all us siblings and my Aunt Jan. And it's just fun. There's a bunch, there's like the teenage kids all hang out together. Then there's Connor's age group, which my brother had his 2 boys, and Connor basically. And then there's my sister's 3-year-old son, and he was like, he wanted to be with the big boys so bad, but he's 3. He couldn't go off riding around the loop with the rest of the kids who were riding their scooters and bicycles round and round and round and round. So it was a good trip. We had lots of fun. The weather was really nice. Not super hot, thankfully, because when we left on Thursday, it was like 90 degrees up here in Washington, and we get down to the Oregon coast and 70 something. It was nice. It was tolerable. Sleeping at night was warm, which is not always the case when you're camping. And I finally have got the perfect, I call it glamping bed. I have a cot from Cabela's and 8 inches of memory foam. Yes, I glamp. I finally, I am very uncomfortable in most beds other than my own. It's just the way it is. But I slept very well, and you know how I know this? I did not get up in the middle of the night and have to trek to the bathroom. So, and that's good. Normally, that would happen to me if I didn't sleep good. I would wake up, and then all of a sudden my bladder would be like, hello, you need to get up and walk through a dark campground outside where who knows what kind of critters are out there. So, yes, camping was fun. We went down to, on the last day that I was there, my parents stayed one more day, as well as my older sister and my aunt. They all stayed one more day after the other half of us left. but we all went down to Cannon Beach and had lunch down there, and oh my gosh, I'm like, I wanted to go buy sweatshirts for me and the boys. I could not find a parking spot anywhere in Cannon Beach. I'm amazed I found a parking spot at the place we had lunch. So, which by the way was amazing. If you ever get a chance to eat at a Moe's, M-O''S, Moe's in Oregon, they have great food. So, and the one in Cannon Beach looks right out at Haystack Rock, which is a very iconic Oregon view. So, that was yummy. I had the halibut, beer battered halibut, and French fries and coleslaw, and they brought me coleslaw with shrimp on it the first time around, and I'm like, you get these sea bugs away from me, because I don't like shrimp. So my dad ate that one, and then they brought me one without shrimp on it. Yeah, so that was a good meal. Thinking of meals, my brother is a barbecue smoker aficionado, whatever you want to call it. When his father-in-law passed away a couple of years ago, he inherited a big green egg, and he makes the most fabulous smoked meals on that thing. He's made smoked mac and cheese, people. It's good stuff. But he made pulled pork. We do one communal type meal when we do our camp out, and he made the pulled pork for that, and oh my goodness. Eric, you're an awesome cook. Mom and Dad taught you well. Mom taught you well. Not Dad so much. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, yeah. So that was my week in review. Basically, work really hard, then camping. Came back Sunday, took a shower, blocked my cardigan because I finished this while we were camping. I brought this thing with me camping because I had to finish this sleeve. I was like this far on it when we started camping, and I finished it. So, yes. Okay. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, yes. When I left camp, I left with only one child in tow. My older son, every summer, he spends a couple weeks with my older sister and her youngest son, and usually a week. But this year, it's 2 weeks. He gets to be gone for 2 weeks, and I'm like, yay, teenage attitude, gone for 2 weeks. I'll miss him, but I won't miss his attitude. Because he's got, oh my goodness, he's got one right now. Yeah, so I guess that's about it. So, thank you for joining me today, listening to me ramble on about my family and camping. It was a very busy week, but I really enjoyed my time with my family, and getting to see, especially my older sister. I don't get to see her more than a couple times a year usually. And yeah, it was a good trip. And yeah, that about wraps it up. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for putting up, like I said, with my rambling. If you liked this episode, please hit the thumbs up on there somewhere. I know it's around here somewhere. I don't know. You can find it, right? I don't usually watch YouTube on my computer, so I watch it on my smart TVs, so, which there are a ridiculous amount of those in my house due to my geeky husband. But anyway, yeah, so like the video and subscribe if you want to be part of my 100 subscribers giveaway, and then go over to my Ravelry group, which is Little Fish Stitches podcast on Ravelry, and go join there so you can so you can get my brain to work with my mouth. That would be awesome. So you can be eligible to win a prize when I hit that 100 subscriber mark. Right. Anything else? I think that might be it. And it's a good thing because I'm starting to do the potty dance. Sorry, you guys, if that's TMI, but that's the truth. Okay. So, like, subscribe. Join me next week. It might be midweek again because I don't want to do them too close together. So, there you go. All right. Okay. Am I done, Connor? He's looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm done. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.